the chase is on for the first overall selection in the National Football League draft. And the team sitting in the pole position for this particular spot and this particular pick are Chris Brockman's New England Patriots.
Yes.
Sitting there. It's not anything to celebrate.
I mean, it is. When your team is bad, you want to have the best possible draft pick, and there's no pick better than number one.
Well, and then the thing is that the Titans are sitting at 2. The Browns are sitting at 3. The quarterback needy Giants are sitting at 4. The Jaguars are sitting at 5. Panthers at 6. Jets at 7. Raiders at 8. Bears at 9. And the Saints at 10. And the Raiders' last couple of weeks, where they have put together some dubs, have absolutely taken any Raider fan's dream of seeing Shedeur Sanders in the silver and black and basically exploded it over the strip, and the ashes landing on the sphere and everything else. Because I don't think Shedeur is lasting to 8th overall. And the interesting way that this is playing out right now is the Titans need a quarterback. Potentially, they're going to have to really evaluate Will Levis and say, we'll hold on to Will Levis. It's kind of like, I understand Will Levis has definitely not has had as much success in Tennessee as Justin Fields was having with Chicago. But it's kind of similar to that question that they were having a couple of years ago when they were sitting there first overall and they traded out of the spot and let Carolina trade in for Bryce Young. That does Tennessee stick with Will Levis, take whichever quarterback might still be on the board and go with that, or do they trade away Will Levis and go ahead and take this kid? And they wouldn't get nearly as much for Will Levis as obviously anyone would think, since the going rate for trading away your first-round drafted quarterback, which Will Levis wasn't even, you saw was a 5th-round selection in a future draft for Justin Fields.
Right.
So trading that pick out would be a way for Tennessee to really make some hay in improving their roster. The question is what do the Patriots do first overall? And does somebody sit there and jump the line because they love their guy so much, thinking Tennessee might take him instead? You got the Giants sitting there at 4. Do the Browns take a quarterback at 3 because they're going to figure we're not going to be up here for this high anymore because we're going to be better? Like you always hear that approach. We're going to take the quarterback now because we don't ever intend to be this high drafting anymore. That was the philosophy in the Patriots taking Drake May last year. We're going to take a quarterback here, not trading out with the Giants. We're going to take our quarterback here because we don't plan on drafting this high anymore, and they might be drafting any higher. So I'm kind of set everything up the way it's currently sitting. We all know that this draft order may change. And for your particular situation, Chris, Jerod Mayo was asked. I don't think the word tank was mentioned to him, but he was asked about what the approach is when they're sitting in the best possible position for a team that has nothing left to play for, figuratively, literally.
As of right now, you guys are in line for the number 1 overall pick next year. How does that, if at all, affect your game plan going into this week?
100% focus on beating the Buffalo Bills. I mean, that's what we have to do.
So,
no coach is ever going to say. I'm inspired.
I know, dude. I know what you're saying right now, but
I'm inspired.
Come on, dude. Let's put a pin in that. No. Let's put a pin in that for a second. And I do want to revisit the Jerod Mayo situation.
The Patriots can't play Drake May this week, right? He has to sit.
Why?
I'll give you the floor on that.
He has shown the last few weeks he can't take care of himself. Okay. He took an unnecessary hit on the opening drive last week against the Chargers. Nearly got himself knocked out. Probably should have been out for the remainder of the game. He's already suffered a concussion earlier this year. He's a little bit reckless. I don't know if that's play calling or that's just him being a 22-year-old Superman out there trying to make plays, which obviously I like. I think he's going to be a great player. But the mission here is simple. Get the number one pick, and then we're open for business for all these teams that need quarterbacks to come trade up. So you do that by playing Jacoby Brissett for a half, playing Joe Milton for a half, and rock and roll. Drake May's the future.
Well,
you can't go into the offseason with Drake May dealing with a concussion issue, dealing with maybe an arm issue or a leg issue. Sit him. Save him from himself. Get the number one pick, and then let's go into the evaluation period in the draft.
I think they should sit Drake May. They should start Jacoby Brissett. They should lose this game. Period. End of story.
End of
you want to
story.
be the first. You want to be the first overall picker. If you have gone this far with this much pain in this much of an issue and this much of a trial with full of tribulations, you finished the job. The only thing, though, okay, I would say is. Because that assures you of taking whoever you damn well want. It doesn't assure you of other teams coming up to knock on your door for the quarterback. Let's just say, Chris, that the Giants and the Browns, okay? Let's just say that the Giants and the Browns are well, let me put it this way. Let's say the Browns sit 2 and the Giants sit 3. Let's say Tennessee wins their final game of the year. Why not?
Okay.
Let's just throw that out there.
Sure.
Okay? And let's just say they do that and that they're out of the position of being right behind the Patriots. I'm just suggesting that if there is somebody that's out there that can wait for their quarterback and not spend it on trading any draft capital to move up, if they're like, we'll take Cam Ward and Shador and we're going to get that guy, you're not guaranteed of having somebody trying to sell a ransom to come go get your guy. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
On that, Chris?
Sure.
Like, we need to see what the draft order finishes up.
Yeah, of course. But do you think
now.
Cleveland's going to take a quarterback or no?
No, I don't.
Really?
Yeah, really. I don't.
They
just redid Deshaun's contract.
Man's
They
coming
just
off an
redid it.
Achilles. We saw how the two guys playing with
get it.
Achilles injuries performed this year.
I'm with you. I'm completely with you on that front. But I don't think the Browns are going to take a quarterback. I really don't. I think they would love Travis Hunter. I think they'd love him. They take him, and they want to see. I don't think they're going to quit Deshaun Watson yet. I really don't.
Man. Well, I feel bad for Browns fans.
You
then.
do?
I feel bad for Browns fans. He's proven he can't play. It's over. It's the worst contract maybe in sports.
Yeah.
The Titans obviously need a quarterback. The Giants, we know, need a quarterback. And the Raiders need a quarterback. Why wouldn't the Raiders move up? Tom Brady calls up Bob Kraft. Hey, let's make a deal.
No. But the Raiders are too far down. They're too far down.
Why? We saw Carolina move up. Where were they when they traded with the Bears? Weren't they ninth?
They traded so much to go do it. You would trade all.
And you could argue that the Panthers are better fit to succeed than the Bears are right now. So it doesn't really matter.
Because of how Bryce Young is playing right now, is what you're saying?
And they seem to play hard.
All right. Now let's pull the pin on this conversation. Okay.
Yes.
Do you want Jerod Mayo gone as the head coach of the New England Patriots?
He's done nothing to inspire any hope for the future that it's going to get better.
Why do you say that?
Have you watched the games?
I have watched the games.
It's been really bad.
And I both. You and I both knew how bad it was going to be for the Patriots.
You knew that the wins were not going to be there, but there is a difference between winning the games and just getting blown out every week, and that's a reflection of coaching as well. But it's also, you want to see improvement. You don't want to see the dumb, stupid sloppiness. You want to see guys play hard. You want to see, don't screw up the clock management at the end of halves and games.
But you knew there would be.
You didn't want to see defensive regression. Look, the team was bad last year record-wise with Bill, but the defense was still really good. Mayo was on that staff as a defensive coach, and then what happens this year? They can't stop anybody. So what happened? A lot of the players were brought back. Yeah, Christian Gonzalez has proven to be a top-flight defensive back in this league, and he's playing well, and that's basically it. Where's the pass rush? Where's the linebacking play, of which Mayo was a coach on that staff? It's not inspiring. Mike Vrabel is right there. There's a report that he's going to bring Josh McDaniels. We know how great of an offensive coach and a mind he is. He got Mac Jones into the Pro Bowl and the NFL Top 100, and he won Super Bowls with Tom Brady.
Chris, I'm
like, it's all right there. Like,
oh, no, I know.
I can't see why anyone would want Mayo back, other than Bob Kraft trying to save face.
Because there is a plan
that
they've had.
I don't
Hold on
think
a second.
There's a plan.
Let me finish.
Sorry.
There has been a plan in place for years. And this is a franchise that is deliberate, or has been, or has never had the need to show off deliberateness because of how remarkably and wildly successful they were with their coach and their quarterback for as long as they were. Quarterback leaves, coach now leaves. It is now time to start something new. And the Kraft family for years had been targeting this particular head coach, who they had to have known would have some on-the-job training issues, would had to have known that this season coming in was going to be positively dreadful. And so it will come down to Robert Kraft and Jonathan Kraft and the Kraft family sitting down once the season ends and saying, do we, just for sake of belief in our plan and belief in continuity, and knowing that the worst franchises, just like we were before we took over this franchise, would churn through people. They're not a churn through team. And that is the question that they're going to have answered. Now then, in the same way throughout, you always see whenever a coach has been with the team for a while, that when they go ahead and change coaches or that coach leaves, they normally take someone who's the opposite, because they've been in a relationship for a long time and they want to go in a different way because they want to try something else. And Bill Belichick was their guy for as long as they had him. And I'm just wondering if part of the reason why they like Mayo is because he is so different from Bill in terms of his personality, that they thought they needed to go in that direction. And maybe they need to get their red ass back. And that's why they would go to Vrabel. They got to get their guy. They spent 20 years with a red ass. You know what I mean? Like that, or 22 years. And they were done with that. And now they got someone else who is a completely different. And they have to sit there and wonder, do we let this guy continue learning on the job to show off the traits that we know are in there? Because we put it in our plans forever that when Bill was gone, this was the guy. That we didn't even let him walk when it was time for Bill to have to name an offensive coordinator. We had to name Mayo something in order to make sure he didn't leave. We're not going to pitch all of that because the 1 year that he took over that we knew was going to be taxing and troubling turned out to be that. That's what they have to sit here and wonder. And instead of saying, the question is are there enough guys and ladies like you in New England to have created an issue for the Krafts to sit here and say, we're going to lose people from our fan base if we don't go and get Vrabel and say, we're going back to the Belichick times with somebody who won rings for Belichick and has that sort of mentality and attitude that fans want back, because Mayo appears to be dead inside, right? Because he's got a different personality. When he sits there and you were so uninspired when we played the soundbite moments ago of Mayo saying, we're just going to get ready for Buffalo. where, our plan is to beat Buffalo, when he was asked about the first overall selection. He's not going to sit there and say, well, of course we're going to tank. Of course we want to get better as a franchise. Of course we're not going to win this game because it means we can get better as a franchise. It's just another version of Belichick going, well, we're just move on to Cincinnati. But you don't have any confidence in this guy because the only thing you know about this guy is a season that's so bad you're the first overall on-the-clock team going into the final week. You see what I'm saying?
I assumed that we would have a top 5 pick this year, but it didn't. It didn't look this bad. I didn't think it would look this bad.
You knew it had to look bad to have a top 5 pick. Trust me, you could have come to me like, how bad does it look for your team to have a top 5 pick? I could have gone through many. I could have given you the manual on how that would look and how it would go.
Look, all I heard all offseason was how the Jets have a championship roster and they have one more win than us. We have two good players.
Right.
I think for the coaching stuff.
But hold on a second. That goes to show you why the Crafts probably want to stick with Mayo, because the Jets churn through people. They fired their coach after week 5. You don't want to be that team. You're not that team. I
think we're realizing that the Crafts had no involvement in football, and now they're trying to. Bill did everything. Bill ran the team. He ran the scouting. He ran the offseason. He picked the players. He decided how much they were getting paid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now they're trying to find guys to fill in all the little pieces of what Bill did completely. And they're realizing that that's very, very difficult. And look, I was one of the people saying that it was time for something different with Bill. It was just kind of reached its end. But I don't know. Maybe Bill, they should have just kept him.
No, God, that thing was over, as you know.
Oh, of course, I know. But what I'm saying is that it's so difficult to replace one person who does everything.
I know.
With 8 different people, and now they're finding it. They probably picked the wrong people to do this. They completely whiffed on the draft. May fell right into their lap. They were taking him no matter what. The monkeys who write Shakespeare would have taken Drake May. But everything else has been a complete miss. Seeing Glad McConkey come into your building and score 2 touchdowns and have more stats in one game than the other 2 guys, Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, that have the whole year is embarrassing. Like
let me ask you this,
whiff
then.
On this stuff.
Well, what if Mayo's actually gotten a good plan for
then it would be nice to hear it. He needs to win back the fan base. Because too many times he'll say something stupid after the game, and then on Monday he'll go on EEI and have to walk it back, and then Tuesday we're trying to break that down. Like, there's too many times that it's happened this year, and the fan base is over it.
And Vrabel's sitting out there,
and
that's the thing
and
too.
It's the only time Mike is going to be available. This is it. One-shot deal. He's going to pick his job, and then he's not going to be a head coach. You're not going to have an opportunity to hire this guy for another decade. It's frustrating.
First overall.
And I know nobody's sad for us, and I get that.
Okay, no, TJ, go ahead.
Rich, I'll say this. When it comes to the way you're describing the Crafts thought process with Mayo.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah.
Every now and then you say something that makes me go, that's why this guy's name is on the coffee cup. I thought that was a great really reasoning as to why they had Mayo, the reason they probably won't let him go, and the reason they want him to succeed. That made complete sense to me. So,
but Mayo was picked as head coach like 4 or 5 years ago. Like,
no, and
plans
just
change, circumstances change.
Correct, and the reason why, first of all, thank you, TJ. But secondly, also, I have been around the NFL block for 22 seasons. And I know the way that franchises work, and I know the way that successful franchises work, and I know the way that plans are made, and that very few times are plans reversed based on results that you knew were coming, and a setup that you knew would be challenging, and a setup that you knew would have growing pains to it, and a fan base that has not had a first overall pick in their lap since Parcells had one and was brought in because things had fallen so completely flat, and they chose Bledsoe and all that. But it's been a long time. And so the Crafts, having done it a certain way with Bill, and it was very successful, I think towards the end began to chafe about it. And they wanted to try it a different way. And they know that the unitary executive way, is not something that they wanted to have set up again. And I don't know if that's the way it would be with Vrabel. I think you can sort of have your cake and eat it potentially with him, where you're telling the fan base, let's go back to the old days. You got a head coach that in the upper, east of the country, you usually want to have somebody that is a little bit more of a red ass, and which Joe Torre wasn't. And when he was winning, you looked at him and you're like, I love the way that he's such an even keel. He's the same way when we win is the same way we lose. But when you start losing, you're like, is there anybody in there? Like, is there anybody? Like, show me you care as much as I do. And that's the way it goes in the Northeast in many different ways. I just don't know if the Crafts are going to be like, we knew it was going to be bad. We knew it was going to be tough. We knew it was going to be challenging. We know we don't want to go back to the unitary way of Bill. And we knew that we loved this guy for years. We're going to stick with him. But it's a fascinating question to see play out with a franchise like this. And I personally think, just to put a button on it, they should start Jacoby Brissett. They should tell the kid, you're in the playbook now from now until next September. Go be healthy into this offseason. And we're going to get the first overall pick, because that is what's best for the long run. Because not only can we take whoever the hell we want, if it's Travis Hunter or not, or we can see which team wants which quarterback, and they're desperate about it. Because last year, the Raiders couldn't get from where they wanted all the way up for Jaden Daniels. This year, if they're 7 or 8, they could get up to get Shedeur. They're closer. That's for sure.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.